I know. Addie, why are we already talking about winter project plans? It's only just now September. Far be it from me to skip through autumn. As a Scorpio, I am an autumn kind of girl. However, my bias towards the fall seasons and the fashion that it lends itself to does not myself a fast knitter make. Does not myself a fast knitter? Yeah, okay. Basically, I'm a slow knitter, and if I want to wear anything that's going to keep me warm this winter, I need to get started on those projects like yesterday. This January, my partner and I are going to be in Montreal for a little over 6 weeks, which means that we are going to be in French Canada at the coldest time of year that we could possibly be there, which to some, okay, that might be a nightmare, but for me, this has been a wonderful excuse to hop on Ravelry and find some patterns that I want to whip up for the trip. I'm also really focusing on stash busting projects right now. I'm on a seriously tight budget and I have no interest in spending any more money on yarn, and I don't need to. As you guys can see, my yarn collection is fully out of hand. All that to say, that is going to be the lens through which I compile my list today. They'll have to be knitting or crochet patterns that will be quick enough for me to whip up before or during my trip. They must be warm, and they either need to be small enough accessories that they can use up the entirety of the odd quantity skeins that I have in my stash, or I need to be able to make a scrappy version of whatever the bigger object is. So let's just get straight into the items. I honestly have a very long list here today, so I'm going to try and keep everything that I say about these patterns brief, but I will leave links below so you guys can see more info about the things that I'm sharing here on Ravelry. I'll also post the designer names and any info that I can fit in a screenshot on the screen so that I don't mispronounce or misrepresent any information, which famously I am known to do a lot. Okay, without further ado, let's talk about some mittens. Okay, so the first item on our list is these Russian flower mittens. Are you kidding? I think these are so beautiful. I've never made a pair of mittens before, and I'm just obsessed with this design. Now, are my colorwork skills up to par for this? I don't know, but I want them, so I think I would figure it out. I first saw these in a recent video posted by Jazz Beth here on YouTube. She has a really good list of some pattern ideas for winter, so you should really check that video out. Ever since she mentioned these, I haven't been able to get them off my brain, so probably going to be at the very least attempting these this winter. I have a lot of Blue Sky Fibers Woolstock Light fingering weight wool that I think I could use for this. And I also have some cotton yarns that I think would work, but I don't really think cotton mittens makes any sense. So I'll probably scrap together some wool for these if I make them. This pattern is $5 on Ravelry. I tried to find as many free patterns as I could for this list because I really want the patterns to be free, but I mean, I also believe in paying for patterns. I don't know, a lot of these are just paid patterns, so sorry, but a lot of them are free, you'll see. Just like the next pattern. These are the straight ahead mittens. Okay, I love the idea of making these because you can make them at any level of completion. So I think in terms of a stash busting project, this is perfect. It calls for worsted weight yarn, so it's going to work up really quickly. They're saying that you need US 6 needles, so 4mm. This is going to be a quick project, and according to the pictures, you can make either just arm cuffs, or you could make hand warmers, or you could make full mittens. I love that. That means if I start making these and then I give up, I can make it look chic and intentional. I also love the idea of making hand accessories with worsted weight yarn. I have Reynolds. Wait, I always say it wrong. Hang on. Okay, yeah, Raynaud's disease, which means that I have bad circulation to my extremities, so when my hands get really cold in winter, it hurts. So I love mittens for that reason specifically, because it keeps my hand together, which is nice. But I love the idea of a worsted weight mitten, because I think that that's just gonna be really warm for my hands, especially when I'm in Canada this winter. Okay, let's move on to some hats. I'm a hat girl. I love a good hat. I have short hair and I like to put zero effort into it, so I love to be able to throw on a hat. Let's make some. By the way, all of these are free. So this is the Fisher cable hat, and it's also a worsted weight project, which I love. because your girl has like a lot of worsted weight yarn in her collection. I'm very picky about my hats, and normally I don't like beanies that don't have a folded hem. But what I like about this one is even though it doesn't have a folded hem, in place of that it has some cables on it. So it's got a different dimension than the rest of the hat, which is just plain flat stockinette. I love it. I just started learning how to do cables, which we'll get to later. But I love that this will be a nice way to be able to incorporate cables into an outfit while not being that intimidating of a cable project, because it looks like there's only like, I don't know, 4 or 5 rows of cabling in this thing. And then after that, it looks like it's just stockinette. This does say that it's a male pattern, which like to gender a hat is hilarious to me, but I think gendering clothes in general is ridiculous, so that's a video for another day, I guess. But what I'm hoping that doesn't mean is that this is a really big hat. So I'm hoping that it fits me. But I'm a pretty big-headed woman, so I feel like it's going to be fine no matter what, and if it isn't, then I'll just like gift it to my boyfriend. So that one's cool. Next. The next hat on my list is the slip and pearl hat. By the way, when I'm looking here, I'm looking at Ravelry. I'm not ignoring you. This is the slip and pearl hat. It is a bulky weight yarn project, which... cute. I think it's actually literally the only bulky weight pattern that I have on here because I'm not normally a bulky weight girl. But this is cute. I love that this is a simple hat with some really nice slip stitch details. But more than any of that, I love the way that it looks like this hat fits people. So you'll notice for someone who said that they like folded brims on their hats, this is not a folded brim hat either. But what I like about it is it doesn't look like it's super tight to the head, but it also doesn't look like it has a lot of extra room on the top of it, like lengthwise. Personally, I always think that looks a little bit like you're wearing a sack on the top of your head. Some people can really rock it. I cannot. But this one's well fitted, but it has a little bit of give on top, which I like. I also love, there's this one version on here under the projects tab for this hat where the maker used 2 different colors for this hat, and I think that that added a really cool effect. So I would be interested in doing that just to, you know, use up some odd quantities of yarn that I have lying around and mix and match. I am not a pom-pom girl though, so I would forego that for my version. That's that one. On to the next. The next one is our first crochet pattern of this list. This is the Raised Diamonds beanie. This project is an Aran weight project. I love making crochet hats. They are so quick and they're so satisfying to make. This one looks like it's going to be a little bit more challenging than other hats that I've crocheted in the past too, which I like. And I like that it almost like gives cables, but without being cables. Okay, scarves. I've never followed a scarf pattern. I feel like I've always just freehanded them, but I thought they'd be a nice addition to this list. This designer, I don't know how to say her last name, but her first name's Joanna. I've had my eye on her work for so long. I think she just has really beautiful designs, and this scarf is no exception. The Charles scarf is about €5 and it's $5.77 USD. I'm really into this small triangle scarf thing, very a la Sophie scarf by Petite Knit. I think it's a super wearable style that I could see myself getting a lot of use out of, but it's also a quick knit, which is nice. And I also love that this calls for a light fingering weight yarn. I feel like that means I could either use some of my thinner fingering weight wool that I have laying around, or I might be able to use this as a stash busting project for some of my mohair. I don't know if that's kind of crazy though, because it's supposed to sit so close to your neck that might be really itchy. But speaking of mohair scarves, another designer whose work I've been dying to do. So recently, and I am so late to this, but I just discovered who Calf Fassett is, and oh my god, I'm so obsessed with his work. I want to make every single one of his designs. I know I'm not going to have the time or the materials needed to make any of his bigger sweater projects or anything like that, but I wanted to see what he had by way of scarves, and I stumbled on this Rothko scarf. The problem with this, you can't find this pattern anywhere on the internet, so I'm not really sure what it's doing in the pattern section of Ravelry, but it looks like it was probably some kind of collaboration with Rowan that's since like expired or something, because you can't find it on the Rowan website. I searched high and low, meaning I searched for a whole 2 minutes and I couldn't find it online. So I'm fine with that, because I think the point is that I pulled enough inspiration from this photo of this scarf to glean that I would love to make like a scrappy striped mohair scarf. This one just looks like really long and kind of skinny. I feel like it would be really good for some of the leftover skeins that I have laying around of mohair. I said this earlier, but I do think that scarves are an easier thing to freehand, but I think it's really nice to have this photo as a reference to say, okay, maybe I want a looser gauge on this scarf, and maybe I do want to follow the kind of stripe pattern that he designed here. So stay tuned on what I do about this. Okay, so obviously, I have like 15 different sweaters on my Montreal knitting board, but I'm not going to be able to do all those. So I'm just going to tell you guys today about the ones that I'm pretty sure I'm actually going to make in preparation for this trip. And I'm going to start with one that's actually a current whip of mine. So this is the sweater number 15 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. It's $8 USD. This pattern calls for fingering weight yarn held together with lace mohair. Like I said, this is actually a current whip of mine. I am just about to join the body. Very excited about that. This is actually going to be my Rhinebeck sweater this year, so I'm very excited about that. It's my first time going to Rhinebeck, and it's also my first time making cables, so I thought that it would be a perfect Rhinebeck sweater because I'm kind of pushing myself, but it's also a very staple sweater. Like, sweaters in this style are the kind of pieces that I have in my wardrobe from store-bought sweaters that I wear all the time. I honestly couldn't have picked a better pattern for my first experiment with cables because it is such a repetitive pattern. It's really well written. It's honestly just like pretty simple. I bought new yarn for this sweater, which is part of the reason why I'm not really buying any more yarn, though I have to say, all in all, this sweater didn't put me out that much money. The splurge here was definitely the mohair. This is La Bien Amie, me going to French Canada. Like, that's how I say this name. Oh my god, I'm gonna struggle. La Bien Amie. Mohair silk yarn. This is in the color Bleu Royal. And my base yarn, I could talk about this for hours. I'll keep it brief. This is Pearl Soho Linen Quill. I've heard about this yarn for a while now. It's been on my radar. Hot take, I think they need to change the name. I'll get into that in a second. Let me not forget. This is the Pearl Soho Linen Quill in the color, blue. Color 1548, blue. I think they need to change the name of this yarn because for the longest time I didn't buy it because it has linen fibers sticking out of it and it has linen in the name. So from looking at it, I was like, that looks so stiff and itchy. It's not. Oh my gosh, it is the squishiest yarn I've ever used, and it's 439 yards per 100 grams. And I got this on sale. I think I spent, for a whole sweater's quantity, I'll out myself, I think I spent like $60 or less on all of this yarn. And this is like really nice. So very excited about this combo. It's working up to be this very deep kind of electric blue. I love bright colors, so I'm very excited about it. I'm so excited to finish this sweater because I can just tell you right now, I'm going to be wearing it all the time. Like all the time. Okay, the next one has been actually another that's I've had my eyes on forever. This was also in Jazz's winter knitting plans, and it reminded me that there is a heavy version of this pattern that is good for winter. So hence why it's on my winter knitting list. This is the Winona Polo Heavyweight Edition by Emily Chen. This pattern is $11 USD. Oh my, I want to make this so bad. This is a worsted weight pattern. Slay. Once again, I have so much worsted weight yarn in my stash. I've had my eye on her for so long. What can I say? I love her. I love the striped colors. I love that it's a little preppy. It's a little mask. It's a little oversized, and it's just super comfy looking. And I love that I may finally be able to get rid of my insane quantities of Lion Brand 24/7 cotton yarn. If you guys have watched my other videos, you know my saga with this yarn, so I'm not gonna go into it here. All I will say, I have so much Lion Brand 24/7 cotton yarn in my stash right now. It's a worsted weight yarn. I'm done with it. I have some odd incomplete skeins of it too, so it's perfect for stripes. And this is also a really soft yarn to wear, so I think it would be good for a dense shirt like this. This pattern does call for wool, but I just need to get this stuff out of my stash, and I think that the stripes are the perfect way to make sure I get out all of the colors in one project. I don't know. Do y'all think that cotton would be crazy for this project? Any of you that have made this, please let me know. Or any of you that just like are smarter about fiber than I am, let me know. I feel like it's supposed to be big anyway, so I know that cotton will make it super heavy, but like, I think that might be fine with how like oversized it is. This is a huge cotton sweater, and I love it. So I don't think it's that crazy. unless it is. In which case, feel free to bully me in the comments. I gave you permission. So yeah, TBD on what I use for that, but definitely plan to make the Winona Polo Heavyweight Edition this winter. Oh my god. This one is the Soft Loop sweater by Other Loops. It's $9.30 USD. I just want this so bad. I follow this creator whose handle is Knits and Bits on Instagram, and she just made this sweater in like a celery green color that I love so much it makes my brain want to explode. Unfortunately, I don't have the yarn in my stash to make this sweater. So here's the deal. I have a bunch of different small skeins of fingering weight wool. And then other than that, I have like a ton of fingering weight cotton, but this is supposed to be held with mohair, and I think that's really important for this sweater because it gives it that kind of like soft vibe, hence soft loop. So I don't want to give up the mohair of it all. So what I'm thinking, this might be kind of crazy, I think I might just like hold a bunch of mohair together. Because as I mentioned earlier when I was talking about the scarves, if you can't tell, somehow or another, I've ended up with just a ton of mohair left over from various projects. I feel like when I have to do something where I hold mohair with something else, I end up overbuying the mohair somehow. I don't know how my math is that off. It's a disease that I have, much like my Raynaud's. So I want to use a lot of that stuff because it's really pretty, but it's just hard to find a use for it. So I'm thinking that I might just make this sweater fully mohair. I know that that's like maybe not going to be the comfiest thing, but I don't know. I might do a swatch of that and just see how I like it and see what I think. It might just make it a little bit less opaque than this sample is, like on the pictures that the designers posted, but I don't know. Just trying to work within my means, y'all. It's tough out here, so I'll figure it out. I just really want that sweater in my closet ASAP. Do you guys like that I'm like really leaning into my vocal fry? I hate it. I studied acting for like the majority of my life, so when I hear myself dipping into vocal fry, I'm just getting over a cold, so that's why, but when I feel myself dipping into vocal fry, it makes my skin crawl. So I hope you guys are doing okay out there. Okay, the last one. This is the Kura sweater. Kura? I don't know. It's $10.29 USD. Okay, when I added this to this list at 2 a.m. last night, I thought that this was a fingering weight project. But it's not. It's worsted. I don't know if I'm going to have enough worsted weight for this. Nonetheless, this is the Kura sweater. I thought that this was fingering weight cotton, which I thought would be perfect because I have all these cones of cotton yarn that I got off Hobie. They always seem like the perfect thing to add to my cart to like round up to get free shipping on Hobie. I was thinking that this was fingering weight cotton so that I could use some of those up and do stripes. So maybe I'll use this as more of an inspo picture because I don't think I have enough worsted weight for both this and the Winona Polo. I do like the fit of this sweater, but that's my last pattern. How long was this so far? By the way, if you notice that the quality of this video was drastically different than my other videos, it is because I found my old video camera from like high school or middle school. When I opened up my camera, it wanted me to, like calibrate the time zone and whatever, and the date that it opened up to said 2012. It will not surprise me to edit this footage and realize that it's like super low qual or something like that, but let's just call it my Emma Chamberlain vibe. I just thought it would be really fun to film on it because normally I film on my phone. Even though that like seems like it would be easier, it's kind of a headache. Please genuinely let me know what you thought of this. I will not mind if you are like, I could not stand the quality of this video. I'll just go back to my phone. So yeah, those are all of the things that I'm trying to knit up this winter. Like I said earlier, I'm kind of skipping through fall knits, unfortunately. I just don't think I really have time, and I have a need for a lot of winter knits. I'm also gonna be moving in the new year. So that's part of the reason for the long Montreal trip, is it's kind of like in between my partner and I moving. So that's also kind of where I just want to get rid of a bunch of my yarn. And so I both feel the urgency to have items that are like really warm and use the yarn I already have so I don't have to move it all. I think that this list kind of checked off all those boxes. I think the last time that I made one of these videos, I actually stuck to my list pretty well. I printed out the script from that video and hung it up on the wall and used it as like a checklist to see if I got through all the projects. And it really helped me because I didn't end up getting distracted by other other ideas. I just stuck with the things that I knew I wanted to make and that I knew I had the yarn for. So even if none of these patterns tickled your fancy, I highly recommend making a similar list for yourself as we head into these sweater months, because if you're anything like me, the minute you hop on your knitting Instagram or like YouTube or something, you see a sweater that you want to make and you're like, oh, I want to make that, and then you cast it on and then you see it and you're like, oh, I want to make that, and it's like all of a sudden you have just like a bunch of half-finished sweaters and you don't finish a single one by the time winter is through. We're not doing that this year. We are sticking with our plans and we are finishing objects so that we can wear them in the snow while we drink hot chocolate with our friends. I'm excited about this list. I'm really excited about the amount of accessories on this list because I think that having smaller accessories on my projects list makes it so that I have little small victories I can have along the way. Thank you all so much for watching. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe. I love getting nerdy on the internet and talking about knitting with you all, so please join the party. Subscribe down below. Like this video. Please be sure to leave a comment. Let me know what you thought about the video quality. Let me know if you think I'm crazy for wanting to make that Winona polo out of cotton. Don't forget, I'm going to leave the links to all these patterns in the description box down below, so be sure to go check those out. And while you're on Ravelry, you should follow me. My username on there is the drop stitch. It's all one word, but there's an extra H on the end. And while you're following me on Ravelry, you know what you should just go ahead and do is you should follow me on Instagram. I keep my Instagram pretty updated with all the progress on my whips, so if you're curious about that kind of thing, be sure to follow me over there. I am at _ the drop stitch. That's all one word. And that's all. Yeah, that's all for me. Thank you all so much for watching. Until I see you in the next one, please be sure to drink some water, stretch your wrists, and I mean stretch your wrists, because if we're going to be knitting all these sweaters, take a break. And please, purl responsibly. See y'all in the next one. Bye!